was weird because
Oh,
it went 6-5 and then nothing. That's what happened
okay.
last time too. All right, well, we'll just go. Hello and welcome to Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today is
Thank you,
Tina
Lori. It's so great to
Kadish.
be here
Welcome to the show,
with
Tina.
you. Me too.
I'm thrilled to get into this conversation. Let's start with, what were the beliefs and values that you picked up as a child
All right.
growing
So
up
I
from
grew up
your
in an Italian
family or your
immigrant family,
community?
oldest of three girls, and hardworking family. My mom was the homemaker. My dad was the breadwinner of the family. And we grew up that money was tight and money doesn't grow on trees. And there was always a scarcity of money that money doesn't grow on trees, only the rich get richer, and you work hard, you're going to make money, which I still believe today that working hard is important, and saving for a rainy day. You just never know when things are going to go wrong or bad, and you always want to have your money and pay cash for everything. My dad was a firm believer in, if you don't have the money, you just don't buy it. So I grew up with that, and I grew up with
Hmm.
a scarcity mindset that there wasn't enough money to have. Okay, so I always worried about money,
Okay. And then,
always.
right, I think a lot of people grew
Yes,
up in that same mindset
yes.
of scarcity. There's not enough, right? And then how did
Well, it
that
played
play
out that as
out
I got older
as you
and then I
became a
had
young
kids,
adult?
I projected those feelings onto my kids, into my marriage, and always worrying. And money was always a struggle with my first marriage, as well, because I was always saying there was never enough. I was always worried that there wasn't going to be enough money to pay the bills. And my kids, luckily, well, my daughter took on that and worried always about money. My son did not, but he's still very cautious today, very plans, and so they both took those from me, and my ex-husband at the time as well. He was a construction worker, blue collar worker, and money was tight. Money was really tight all the time.
Hmm.
So it seems like I always seem to struggle to get money. And I think that that's a lot has to do with our mindset.
Of course it does. Yes. So how long were you in that place of money is
Well,
hard to
I
get and
stayed in my
there's
marriage
never
for 20
enough? Like,
years.
at what
Okay.
point did you
Okay. For 20
decide
years, I
that?
was in that marriage and continued to
Okay.
struggle. And I stayed in it for the sake of the kids. And I stayed in the marriage, in an unhappy marriage. And then I finally left the marriage in 1998. That I decided that this wasn't working, that it was no longer fine to stay in an unhappy marriage for the sake of the kids.
Yeah. How long was it fine before you decided I'm not okay with it not being fine? I mean, I guess was it good in the beginning? And the reason I ask is because I've had conversations with people who said I knew from the beginning it wasn't right. And then there were other conversations with people like myself, which it was great. And it wasn't, I never think it was the wrong
Okay,
decision
so
for
yeah,
me
no,
to
I
have
don't think
made
I
at
made
the
the wrong
time.
decision because when I met, I mean, we loved each other and we started a life together. The kids were conceived in love and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I stayed together for the sake of the kids, and things were just not happy, and various reasons, not feeling appreciated, and money was a struggle, and I felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
doing
Mm-hmm.
more. I was putting more into the marriage than what was supposed to be a 50
Mm-hmm.
50 type of relationship. And but what I did was I went to
Yeah.
college to get my degree because I believed that if I had a degree and I could make more money, that I could be on my own and I could be an independent woman without needing a man. And so I did that. I went to college, got my degree, and then a
Mm-hmm.
year after I filed for divorce. I said, this no longer serves me. I'm done with
Okay.
this marriage. And, 20 years later, so I'm a little stubborn because I realized, well, your first question, I realized, I mean, we were 5 years into the marriage that I realized that this is not working. I'm not happy. So out of 20 years, I think the first five were good.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go through the motions of
Yeah.
life and you're saying,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
this is okay. I'll get through this. I wasn't excited. I was, yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
Right. Because it's easier to stay in the comfortable and familiar than to leave and not
Exactly.
know
And
what's
that's what
what's
kept
on
me
the other
too, because
side.
I was worried, I was afraid. Fear plays a huge part in taking those leaps to in the unknown. And for me, yeah, I didn't know if I could support myself without my husband. And it was comfortable. A lot of times we do stay we're comfortable and we stay in different situations. So I stayed in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah, I saw something on social media, I think it was earlier today actually, about people being wanting to change, wanting things in their life to change, but not wanting to take a risk. So I want things to be different, but I don't want anything to
I know,
change,
because change
right?
is scary. Going into the unknown. I mean, there's the unknown. Like, we don't know if we're going to be able to make it work. And I was in that space of, is this going to work? I'm comfortable. What am I doing to my kids? I'm going to end a marriage. They grew up here. We moved out of the house that they were born in, and we sold our house, and so there was a lot of
Mm,
that disruption for my kids. My kids were 10 and 15 when I got divorced, so it was hard for them going through that disruption, and we had to leave our
mm-hmm,
house, and move into an apartment,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
that was was hard for them.
And
Yeah,
yeah, oh,
yeah.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And then, but did things get better as you, okay, you didn't know how it was going to look, but you were expecting that it would get better.
So when I got
Tell me the
divorced,
rest of the story here.
I felt really good. I never regretted my decision, because I'm the type of person that once I make a decision, I don't look back. And I made a decision. I bought my own condo after
Yeah.
that, and I lived with my two kids, and I did it. I did it. I got financial support from my ex-husband. That helped, of course. And but then I've always worked. I've never been a stay-at-home mom. I've always worked my whole entire life. And so I've never been someone to depend on a man for money. I make things happen. Okay? Okay.
I like it. When you say you make a
Yes,
decision
I do.
and that's it, did you also then make the decision that I'm going to, buy my own condo? I'm going to do that. Like, these things didn't just
I made a
happen, right? You
decision.
made
I
a
made a decision.
decision.
I did not want to live in an apartment. It was actually, my dad has apartments behind his house, and I lived in one of his apartments. Stayed there for 7 months, and I said I need to buy my own place, and I did. And I felt really good. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I bought my condo in my own name, and I didn't need anyone else to buy it. And that was
Mm,
so freeing, that independence, to feel. And it was a real good feeling. And
yeah.
I did it. I did it. I did meet my second husband. I'm married today to my second husband. But that was like years later. And I made it happen. I did it. And so I think for your
Hmm.
listeners here, it's when you make a decision, is it you have to feel good with the decision too. I mean, I felt good. It was right for me, and I took action because I was not happy with where I was. So a lot of times we make those decisions because, are we happy with where we are right now? And if you're not, you have a choice. We all have choices. We are
Hmm.
responsible for our life. And if you stay in wallowing, you
Right.
made a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're making a
Exactly.
decision, a choice either way. And is it for your best
Right,
interest or is
exactly,
it
exactly.
just
So,
out of
yeah. So
convenience?
today, I am married to my second husband, and but I loved I'm an independent person, and I left. I was laid off in the corporate world and found myself without a job. So not only have I ended a marriage, but I got laid off in corporate America. Actually, no, that was in
at the same time?
2003. I got divorced in 98. So in 2003 is when I got laid off from corporate America. And then out of
Okay.
fear, and I started
Okay.
my business from there. And I realized that I wanted to be free as a woman, corporate world. I didn't want to be in the corporate world anymore. So when I got laid off, I started my business, really realizing that a lot of women are unhappy in their careers and they stay stuck because they're comfortable with where they are and they're afraid. There's a lot of fear. There is definitely fear. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's fear all around, like fear of leaving a
Yeah.
relationship, fear of leaving a job. It's so all these people living
Right, it's not the way to
in
live life. And
fear.
so,
Like
but what
this
I
is
did
not how to
because of
live
fear,
life.
I started my business. It wasn't sustainable at the time, and I went to a job. And I said, I got to get a job. I got to make some money. And sometimes we got to do what we got to do. We got to bring in revenue. And so I said, I'm going to work my business part time,
Sure.
get a job full time. And I got a job as a recruiter. Did that for 11 years until in 2018, I got fired from my job. That I was unhappy, but I stayed there because of being comfortable.
Right. And so this is another lesson of the
Exactly.
universe will provide you with exactly what you need,
Exactly.
even if
Yep.
you're afraid to do it yourself. Oftentimes,
Oh
not
yeah, no, the
always,
universe
but
made
a
it
lot of
happen that time
times the
because I've
universe
been
will make it
unhappy
happen.
there. I didn't want to be in working for someone for years, and I was working my business part time. And the universe said, "You're not happy here. I'm gonna push you out." And I got pushed out, and I am not going to work for corporate America. I will find a way. I'm in my business right now as a solopreneur, and I love what I do. And helping women, what I do is I help women find their purpose, start a business, successful business, so that they can be happy and prosperous, making money, doing what they love to do. So I focus on that today. And I wrote my book
Mm-hmm.
about freedom. The 7 steps to thrive in life and business came from the idea that I want women to be free, to find. So how I defined
How
freedom
do you
was, and
define
I'll
freedom?
share real quickly. The seven are faith, releasing, letting go of what's holding you back, evaluating where you are, like where's your progress, evaluating what's going well, what hasn't gone well, determination. No matter what you're going through, ups and downs, weathering the ups and downs, are you determined to make it work? Optimism, share, and mindset. So I ended with mindset because I know it begins in our mindset, but I wanted to really wrap it up with mindset, how our thoughts, our beliefs limit us, and we stay in that fine longer, and things hold us back. And so, but I also believe in timing. Not everything can be done at a certain time, and when you're ready. Like I wasn't ready before the 20 years to end the marriage. I was ready then.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because we talked about that in the pre-show conversation, and I wanted to touch on that because sometimes we beat ourselves up, or our friends or people around us are like, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? Like, you've been talking about it forever.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. You
you
do it when
you
it's
do
ready,
it
when the
when
time is
you
right
are
for
ready.
you, not listening to the other people telling you. Because, yeah, my job, my coworkers, my family were saying, you keep telling us how unhappy you are. Just do it. We're tired of hearing you complain. And that's huge. People don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear you complain.
Right. Yes. Right, because it's sometimes people do, because if they get stuck in that negativity, like some
They
people
sure do.
love to get into that drama. And you know, the more you
Right. Right.
criticize and complain, the more of that you attract to yourself, just as the what the
Yep.
opposite side of that is, the more you are grateful
That's right.
for,
That's right.
the more you get to be grateful for. So works both ways. But yes, when people are telling you or tired of hearing you talk about it, and you still may not be ready, but you got to stop talking about it
Exactly.
to them.
Exactly.
That's when
Exactly.
you got
But
to go
I was
find
so
new
grateful
people to
that I
talk to
got
about
let
it.
go. And getting let go after being there 11 years for
Uh-huh.
voicing my opinion about something that I didn't like. I After being there 11 years, getting great reviews, being the top recruiter in my department, I got laid off. I mean, not laid off, fired because I shared my opinion about something.
Was it an opinion
It
that
was
was
my
based in
values. It was
your
a
values
policy, a
that didn't
company
match
policy
theirs?
that they had, and I point blank disagreed with them, and I didn't like it, and I shared it, and they didn't like it because they saw me as a problem employee, because I was disgruntled, I was unhappy,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
my values didn't match.
So because your values didn't match. So this is a whole good conversation about how when you define what your values are. So first step, what are your values? What is important to
Yep,
you so that you can stand up for them and live by them when situations arise. It makes decision, we're going back to decision making, when you are clear about your values. And I talk with my clients about this in my program all the time too. When you're clear in your
exactly,
values,
exactly.
makes
So one
decision
of my
making
values,
a
is
lot easier.
integrity. It's freedom, flexibility, being
Mm.
appreciated, and they're not aligned. They were not aligned. The company, and I always say this with women that I coach with: are your values aligned with the company culture? And if they're not, then why are you still there?
Yeah,
Why are you still there?
right. Exactly. Why are you still there? And it's interesting that you bring that up because I think a lot of people don't stop to think about that
Mm-hmm.
before someone puts it in on plate in front of them. Are your values aligned? Like, oh, maybe that's why I'm unhappy, or maybe that's why I'm constantly having
Yes.
clashes, is because there's a misalignment, but they wouldn't necessarily notice it. I want to come back to what your values, what you just said your values were.
Yeah.
And when I asked you what freedom meant to you, you gave me your
Mm.
pillars of what the freedom
Mean
stands
to
for
me?
in your program. But
Okay.
what does the actual
Okay. So for
freedom
me,
mean
freedom
to
is
you?
doing
Everybody has
what you
their own
love
definition.
every day, making your own decisions, being in
Mm.
a space that you are just living your life on purpose every day, and you're creating meaning. You are having a meaningful life for yourself. And if I can make an impact for other women to share that message of freedom, how much happier, peaceful, harmonious would we be when we are really living our purpose? And so that to me is freedom. It's freedom to me is having your own
Yeah.
voice, that you could speak up, okay, and share what you want to share. Without, I'm not saying to hurting
Mm-hmm.
other people. I'm not saying that, but it's owning your truth, owning
Of
your
course.
your power. Holding on to your conviction, standing in your own power. And I've had to demonstrate in multiple ways after, even when I got fired. For me, that has come through.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I was just taking some notes over here. Um, I want to talk about what happens when you
Yeah,
don't
that's a
keep
good
your
one,
promises to
because
yourself.
when you don't make promises to yourself, you're really not you're not honoring your self-worth. You're not honoring yourself, okay? And you're letting yourself off the hook. But how is that serving you? You know, to me, you're not serving yourself, and you're going to have
Yeah.
resentment at some point because you haven't, yeah, you've given up. I look at it, you've given up on yourself.
Mm. Do you have a story of a time when you did that?
Oh,
Or a story of
well,
maybe
yeah, I
when
mean,
a
when a
client?
client, I want something more for them than they want it for themselves. They're not showing up for themselves, and I get frustrated because I see more for them, but they're letting themselves off the hook. They're not holding themselves accountable. And I'm helping them, but there's so much we can
Yeah.
do as a coach, because at the end of the day, We can guide them, support them, but they have to take action.
Of course, yeah. I'm just thinking of like where, what could be an example of a time when
Yeah.
we as a collective, we don't keep
Mm.
promises to ourselves, because I talked about this on, I think it was on my 50th
Okay.
podcast episode that I did, a solo episode. It was about courage, and how when we don't, we tell ourselves we
Mm-hmm.
want to do X, leave this job. I'm going to leave by the
Exactly.
end of the year, and end of the year comes and we don't do it. We
That's
haven't
right. We
kept
don't
the
trust
promise
ourselves. So
to
when I was in
ourselves. So
that
now we
job,
don't
going back
trust
to the job, yeah, I
ourselves.
got let go. And so every year, I was one of those every year. I had it on my calendar, and then I didn't stick to that calendar, that goal. And so at
Hmm.
the end of the year, I was like, "Oh, here I go again. I'm so frustrated. I didn't do it. I gave up on myself. I'm unhappy. I'm frustrated." And it's it's on you. It's like, okay, I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what could I have done? Why didn't I do it? So we beat ourselves up, and we don't feel good about ourselves when we don't keep our promises to
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. Do you think that ties back to our ability
That's a
to
good
love
point, because
ourselves?
I also believe, because self love is so important. If you don't love yourself first, how can you expect others to love you? And so I believe that we stay in our marriages. Do we love ourselves enough that we, like, sometimes we tolerate from others to treat us a certain way, but we're the ones that
Hmm.
are allowing it. I always say what you
Yeah.
tolerate will continue. You keep
Hmm.
tolerating it, it's going to continue until you change
Yes.
something. Something's got to change. Something's got to give. You got to get to a resolution. I'm a solutions oriented
Right.
person. Something's got to change. And if it's not changing, then why are we here? Like that insanity, doing the same
Yeah.
thing and expecting different results, is so true. So a lot of times we're we're not, maybe we don't love ourselves, and that's why we stay in these jobs. We stay in these marriages. We give up on ourselves.
Right. Give up on ourselves, don't love ourselves,
Yeah.
and then don't trust ourselves to, and so when you don't trust yourself in any kind of situation, like, oh, I'm gonna,
Right.
reduce my weight by
Right.
20 pounds and not do it, or I'm gonna leave my job, or I'm going to
Yep.
take up tennis or go to the gym every day, whatever it is, and we don't follow through, we're teaching ourselves not to trust ourselves. So now we're
Yeah.
not trusting
Yeah.
ourselves to
So we
make
don't trust
smart
ourselves.
decisions for
Right. Right.
ourselves.
It keeps us paralyzed. So we don't
And that
trust
keeps us
ourselves enough
paralyzed.
to make those decisions. And that's why, like I said, we stay fine, we stay unhappy so many times, So it's really,
Hmm.
it is takes courage. It's owning knowing your value. Like, as an entrepreneur right now, I know my value, and I'm not going to work with clients that are not going to serve me. Okay. And if it's not aligned, then because I have an abundance mindset, I'm not coming from the mindset that I need the client because I need the money. Okay.
Yeah. 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 I love it. And it's interesting because when you release those clients who are not good for you,
A better fit,
you
and I
allow
will
them
find
to
a better
find a
fit of
better
clients,
fit.
the clients that are willing and open. And I'm looking for action takers. I'm looking for people that don't make excuses about why they can't follow up on something. Like the common is, I didn't have time.
Hmm.
Time is so common. You didn't make the time because it
Yeah.
wasn't important enough for you to make the time. I mean, well, and it is to me too. Like, for
Oof, that hurts.
example, I say I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, did I really make the time to go to the gym, or did I just say I don't have time for the gym? Well, what am I doing to change going to the gym consistently,
Uh-huh.
this time, that time? Like, you can make it happen. We all have the same amount of hours a day, but it's what do we decide to do with those hours? But how important is it? I look at it, how important is it for you to make that
Yeah.
decision as well? How much pain are you in? You know,
Yeah. That's what it comes back to, right? Because that's what apparently
Yeah.
humans
Oh
need
yeah,
is
absolutely.
pain as an
Absolutely.
impetus
I
to
believe in that.
change. Is it Tony Robbins who talks about that people change
Yes, I
either
think it is.
they move towards pleasure or away from pain, but for the most part they
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
moving away from
90% of the
pain,
time they're
like
moving away from
90% of
pain.
the time.
Maybe they don't even see the pleasure. They're not even envisioning the pleasure. They're just getting away from the pain. And I think that a lot of times we're focusing so much on the pain.
Yeah. Do you think that changes the outcome then? Because it's almost like when you just said that, a thought popped into my head that it's
Uh
like
huh.
playing a game not to lose, to not lose,
Yeah.
or playing to win. There's a difference. Like, right? The team that's playing to win is going to win. The team that's just playing
Yeah.
to
No.
not
Yeah.
lose,
I'd rather be playing to
yeah,
win. How
it's
can
going to
I
be different.
win this? How can I get this client? How can I grow my business? What do I need to do? There's lessons that we learn from every experience. Definitely. So every experience that I've gone through, what is the lesson? And what can I do differently moving forward?
Yeah. Are there tools that you've used to help you dig into that, to move from where, whether it was when you were leaving your marriage or leaving your job, or like what were the tools that you used to move yourself from fine to a better
Both,
place? Like, did
both,
you use
all three:
meditation or
counseling,
journaling or
meditation, journaling,
counseling or what?
reading my Bible. Having the faith that things are going to get better, believing in myself, trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting
Mm.
that things are going to work out the way they're meant to work out as well.
Yeah. So were there were
Yeah,
specific tools? I mean, you said reading, so that's one. Because trusting yourself, like you can walk down the street and go, "Yeah, I know I need to
yeah.
trust
I mean,
myself,"
I
but like
to
then how do you
say, I
actually
think for me,
do
what's worked
that?
really is the meditation, the journaling, being in gratitude every day.
Mm.
Having a gratitude journal. I mean, really being
Yeah.
grateful for
Yeah.
what I have right now, even though it's not everything. More is going to come. I really believe that, and a lot of times we get into that,
Mm-hmm.
what we don't have, and why is this working out this way? Why can't I have? Why is the money not coming? Why are the right clients not coming? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That's right. We're focusing.
Focus on the wrong things. Focus on the
Right.
negative versus the
Yeah.
positive, which we talked about a few minutes ago, right?
What you
Focusing
do
on
have. So
good
focusing
the what you
on
don't have
focusing,
versus
what you focus on expands. So are we
what you do
focusing on the
have. Yeah.
negative, or are we focusing on the things that we do have, the positive things? Because there's a positive thing every day. Just waking up alive is positive. It really is. And what you do with that day is up to
Yeah.
you. It really is. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was on a we were doing a like a book study with a few people, and one of them mentioned some kind of chart. I'll have to go back and look because she sent it to me. But it was a chart of how many days we have. Like if you live in,
Okay.
I don't know if it was an average lifespan, but like if you live to 80, how many days
Mm.
or weeks do you have from this point
Yeah.
forward in your life? Like how many are left in a chart, which makes it very like in your face. This is what's happening. Like, because we go
Yes,
through
that's
every
right. That's
day
right.
think billion
So,
days
because we
left.
don't know when tomorrow is going to be, or today could be our last day on Earth. We don't know, because everything can change
Right, right, right.
immediately.
Yeah, yeah. So living with that, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say in the
Right,
moment. That's,
right,
I mean,
right.
everybody talks about living in the moment,
Yeah, living with
but
a sense
living
of
with a sense
urgency,
of
because you
urgency.
just don't know that tomorrow, because you don't want to live in regret. Oh, I wish I had done this. Oh God, why didn't I do that? But being grateful that
Yeah,
what we were able to do. Um, and yeah, and just what can you do every day?
yeah. Right, what can you do every day? I love that because the sense of urgency maybe isn't even the right
Right.
phrase. It's not like rushing through. Like,
Right.
I get like hair on fire, got to get all these things done. It's more of a calm sense
Yeah.
of
It's
moving
living life
forward
with
with
intention. Yeah.
intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Well, so appreciate you being here. Before we go, what is the song that you listen to when
Yes,
you
so
need
"Girl
an
on
extra boost
Fire"
of
by
energy?
Alicia Keys. I love that song, and it just like I feel like that's like every morning. I think we all need to listen to some music that really gets us fired up. And what I need to do, or I
Mm-hmm.
want to do, is every morning I want to wake up to listening to some great music like that. And so that's a song that really gets me fired up.
Excellent. Where can people find you, and
Okay,
what's the
so
last
everybody can
thing
visit
that
me
you
on
want to
my
leave
website,
with us today?
lifeisideal.com, and deal.com. And I have
Life is
a lot
ideal.
of
I like
videos
it.
there. I have my programs. My book is available on my website that you can get on Amazon. I also, offer a course from my book as well. So it's all on my website. And if anybody, this resonates with anyone, I offer a 30-minute complimentary call um, with someone that is in that space, that they want to make a change, they're in transition, they want to start a business, they want to figure it out. Let's connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
me
you, Lauren,
today
for
on
having me
Fine is a
today.
four-letter word, Dina.